Hello, my lovely seekers and finders, and welcome to the Way of Truth number 61. Uh, to those of you who are new here, my name is Artem Boytsev. I am a non duality teacher living in San Francisco Bay Area. And I teach the path to liberation through a combination of meditation, compassionate presence, and direct transmission, and inquisitive dialogue. I host meditation and integration retreats, and I also see students at my home. So just last week, I came back from a wonderful, wonderful retreat with my students. I was very happy to see everybody. It was a beautiful, very precious gathering. I miss my students. I'm looking forward to the next retreat. So our retreats are always very intense and impactful. Gatherings, everyone comes in a little tense and then leaves very relaxed, finding new appreciation for love, for life, finding new appreciation for themselves, learning to love themselves, growing in intimacy with each other. Those are very beautiful and impactful events. And I'm always very happy and excited to go to another one. So the next one is going to be we're planning to host one in Costa Rica in January. So if you didn't have the opportunity, if you wanted to visit this one, then the next to come to the previous one, then the next opportunity will be this January. If you're thinking about joining, you can also join my Discord group. I will post links later, and then in Retreats channel, you can ask people about their experience if you want to learn more about it. So traditionally in our Sangha, we mostly focus on learning to accept emotional experience, since in my own experience of unfolding and in my practice working with the students, this is the major stumbling block to awareness, this coveted awareness, and naturally and effortlessly revealing itself, and also a major stumbling block on the subsequent transformation that follows. Because even awareness revealing itself is not the end of the path, it's the end of one path and beginning of the other. And so the emotional energy is the most important energy to work with. So that's what we practice on my retreats. So, so I wanted to mention something else. Oh yes, so this website contains a collection of my writings on the topic of awakening and liberation, and it also has information about how to schedule one-on-one meetings with me, some information about a retreat. So please, you're welcome to visit it. And in this satsangs, in this bi-weekly satsangs, I answer questions from my students. I give guidance. We also share experiences on the spiritual path. So whether you want to share something or have a question, whatever you might want to talk about, please feel free to join. And by far the best way to join is through the StreamYard link, which I will post now to the platform. So we are being broadcasted live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, although I think Instagram limits the stream to 1 hour, so it could end abruptly. If you're watching it on Instagram, you may want to switch to YouTube. But if you want to participate live, the best way to do that is to follow this link. I will also post a QR code real quick. So that's the QR code. You can scan it and it will direct you to the same link. And StreamYard is a browser-based software. All you need is a browser. And I will be able to bring you on screen and we'll have a conversation. So that's the best way. And by far, direct interaction with the teacher is most impactful. And physical presence is more impactful still. So it's there's a big difference between text, video, and physical presence. So I always encourage the most direct form of communication possible. But if for whatever reasons you don't want to do that, you can simply post comments on YouTube to the stream, and I will be able to bring them on screen and address them. So let us see Okay, hold on just 1 second. Yeah, so that's it. So we have two guests now. Um, all right, so we'll start with Ari. Hi, Ari.
Hey Artem.
Hey, how's it going?
I wanted to talk today about decisions
Mhm.
and how to make decisions because I have some pretty big choices to make um, relatively soon. I don't have to make them like tomorrow, but soon enough. And I feel like over the last couple years, I've always been an indecisive person, but it's become maybe more difficult to make decisions because I think I'm a little bit more aware now than I was before of like decisions don't feel right anymore in some sense. I feel like I can't hold on to any particular choice. Um, and I feel like I don't have a understanding of what I want anymore or what it means to want something, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yep.
Um, and so maybe I guess we can start there if that's enough for you to work with.
Well, I'm not sure if that's enough for me to work with because we haven't talked about a specific decision, but it's enough for me to comment on at least. So we'll start with that. Um, so decisions in the separate state can be very uh, deceiving because you see, the separate state is characterized with search for happiness, and a lot of our decisions, if not the majority of them, have to do with hoping that once we decide something and go into a particular direction, it will bring us more happiness. And also being afraid of making the wrong decision that will make us more unhappy. And then there's another aspect of once we decide something, we feel like we necessarily need to follow through, and there's some shame or self judgment in abandoning something because we have this idea that is taught to us by society that happiness needs to be earned. So you need to make a decision and you need to execute on it and put a lot of hard work, and then maybe at the end of it, we'll be happy. Unfortunately, the cycle repeats. So you can do that, and many people do that, and I used to do that, and then you are satisfied for some time, and then you start looking for something else. So this gives me the context. This gives us the context for what I'm going to talk about next. So it is completely natural to be uh, confused and disoriented when we are undergoing the spiritual transformation and the dissolution of the ego. And the dissolution of the ego comes together with being aware of it. So when you say that it feels like I don't want to know how to make decisions anymore. That's corresponding to and also when you mentioned that some of the decisions that you used to make don't feel right anymore, right? So it corresponds to being aware, becoming aware, slowly becoming aware that of what I spoke about before, that some of your decisions, or maybe even most of them, were in pursuit of happiness or being afraid of something in order to avoid something. So, first of all, there are no wrong decisions. So you can look at it from this perspective. Every decision that you make, even if it turned out to be a mistake, is the right decision for you at the time. So everything unfolds perfectly, and even if it is a mistake, then it will be a learning opportunity. It's a matter of attitude. See, so if some decision backfires tremendously, then it's a learning opportunity for you, right? So it's an invitation to see what were the wrong assumptions that you made when you make the decision, and what we're trying to pursue that that you are, even if you got it, you may still be unsatisfied with. And if that is true, if you got something and you're still unsatisfied with, it necessarily means that you were pursuing it under some wrong pretenses, right? So so all of this is important practice. So don't worry too much about making the wrong decision. When we are worrying about making the wrong decision, we are worrying mostly about some future emotional experience. You see, it's like feelings of regret or feelings of dissatisfaction. So all of those things you will experience on the spiritual path sooner or later, whether it's in meditation or in life or in some other form of modality and some other form of practice. So don't worry about making don't worry about making the wrong decision from this perspective. One practice that could help. So before I do that, I would like to also mention something. Because the mind is so deceitful, right? Because the mind is trying to avoid all the pain and always seeks happiness, which is a very nature, but it seeks happiness in the external. Because the mind is so deceitful, what helps a lot of people is not listening to the mind, but listening to something deeper, listening to the intuition. You know, sometimes it's described as the silent voice of the intuition. It is tricky to explain to someone who's not in touch with this, but most people are in touch with this at least to some degree. So intuition is kind of very stubborn, right? And it doesn't need any logical explanation. It's like you may have a lot of logical explanation of why you should go this way, but something inside of you still wants to go the other way. And you might not even have any explanations for that. So the interesting thing about intuition is that it doesn't change with the emotional ups and downs. So on the level of the mind, you might feel good about something or bad about something. You know, you have a happy day and you want, and now suddenly one decision becomes looks appealing, or you might have a very bad day and suddenly another decision looks appealing. But intuition doesn't work kind of like that. It's like you kind of know that this is the right thing to do, that this is what really you want to do, what really needs to be done. You kind of intuit that this is the right thing to do. And the more time passes, the stronger it becomes, even though on top of it, there could be emotional waves so see if you can connect to something that is kind of silent, a silent knowing of what feels right, which only grows stronger as the emotional waves go up and down. That's one point. Another one is you can do a little exercise. You can meditate on decisions in a pretty specific way. So, like for example, you have two opportunities, right? go with the option A and go with the option B. So each of them has the positive and the negative aspect, right? So you want to, if you when you're considering the option A, you're imagining how great it would be, right? But you're also afraid that something will happen that you won't like. It will fail in some way. You will feel something. Now, when you're considering the option B, it's the opposite. Sorry, it's the same. It also has two of these aspects. So, in meditation, in deep meditation, imagine that everything that you expected from the option A came to be, and revel in how it makes you feel. See how your body reacts to it. Maybe there's some joy, maybe there's some happiness, maybe there's some contentment. Absorb this experience energetically. Then imagine that option A backfired tremendously. The worst thing that you thought that you were afraid of has happened. And do the same. See if there's any fear comes up, or sadness, or anger, or some regret, or like anything of the sort in your body. And do the same thing with option B. So the goal of this practice is to learn to be less resistant to emotionally to whatever the consequence of the decision is. And the interesting thing is the less resistant you are to the potential consequence of the decision, the less afraid you are to make the right decision. And so this voice, this silent voice of the intuition that I mentioned previously, grows stronger. It becomes a little bit more visible because it is covered by the emotional clinging and avoidance. That's the main thing that makes it hazy, so to speak. That's the main thing that veils it. So it's as usual, it's our fear, so our clinging, our assumptions about what's gonna make us feel good in the future, and our fears to feel a certain way. So that's how you can go about these things in general. So that's kind of a general comment.
Yeah, that's a really powerful exercise because
Can be very emotional too. Yeah.
yeah, when you were talking about it, I sort of did it very gently,
Hmm.
and yeah, I want to explore that more. That is really wow. Intuition is really tricky sometimes for me because when I think of like a silent voice, it feels like an oxymoron.
It is in some way.
And it's it's kind of a yes and no in a way because sometimes I feel like, oh, like there's this sense in me, not even that something is right, but that it's the only thing that's possible in a way, the only thing that makes sense. But then I also, there have been, I don't know if it's that I was reading my intuition wrong or just that that life is unpredictable, but I feel like there have been many times where it's like I was sitting at a level that I thought was like what my intuition was saying, and then there was like a deeper level and a deeper level, and it kind of just feels like this endless like set of levels where it's like intuition doesn't feel like any of that.
It can feel this way. Like here's why it's sometimes described as the silent voice. You see, uh, you can also think about it as the silent knowing. Uh, Here's the most interesting property of it. It does not need argumentation. It's like loving someone, right? If you know why you love someone, you, you don't love them. When you love someone, you just know that you love someone. It's not because they do these things for me, because they are beautiful, because they are smart. You see, it's a conditional love. So something very similar happens with intuition. You know that this is the right thing to do, not because of something. You don't need to convince yourself about it. It is just something you pulled towards. It is something that feels right in the moment. It is something that you truly, authentically want. You want to experience something, or that's the right thing to do morally, for example, or you feel like it would be good for you. You might not necessarily know why. So, uh, argumentation is tricky because you can provide arguments for pretty much any decision. You can destroy arguments for pretty much any decision. And that's what makes intuition different, right? Because as you do that in your mind, and you also go through the emotional aspects that are associated with it, this kind of feeling that I want to go one way grows stronger and stronger. But if you're not in contact with it, or it becomes tricky, right? It's still like you've done your meditations, you took your time, and it's still difficult to see which way to go. Don't worry, whatever way you will go will still be the unfolding of your life, you know. If it turns out to be a mistake later, then you will realize it later. You see, remember that doing nothing and not making a decision is also a decision. So there was this great phrase that I read in one of the Jed McKennan's book a long time ago, and then then I realized that that's also, I mean, after the awakening, that this is also became how I live my life. When I don't know what to do, I don't do anything. So I'm not doing things just to do something, right? I only do things when they feel right. I only do things that I want to do authentically. But if I don't know what to do, I just don't do anything. This is also a decision, right? And it feels right in the moment. So you can decide to not decide. And then, of course,
How,
there would be some fear associated with it also, like the fear of missing out, the fear of wasting time. It can also be explored in meditation.
how do I know when I'm moving in alignment with my intuition?
Very generally speaking, uh, you will know you will know it when things start flowing
Yeah.
with less friction, when your life unfolds with more kind of perfection. Uh, but you see, moving, being aligned with your intuition, uh, being aligned with the flow, moving together with the flow is completely proportional to the amount of the ego that still exists and to the amount of the suffering that still exists. So, so that's why the meditation practice and the emotional work is very important. The less resistant you are to how you feel inside of you in any given moment, the easier it will be to make decisions, and the more kind of flowy life becomes. So, so the only thing that I can recommend at this point is you can basically just ask yourself, does it feel right? Does it feel right for me? Is that what I truly want? And see what responds in you, and kind of try to get connect to this sense, not necessarily argumentation, it feels right because, but just like it's the same as with love, just when you love someone, you ask yourself a question, do I love this person? It's just yes, you just know. So something like that, of course it's not going to be as obvious, but something in that vein. Maybe there are some other tricks and techniques that some people might share, whether in the comments or in the forum. But we need to move to another person for now.
Thank you, Artem.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for your question. All right. And another person would be Patrick. Yeah, I haven't. So Patrick was on the August retreat and have experienced since then a very intense spiritual awakening, and I haven't heard from him for a while. I'd like to.
Yo, hi Artem,
Yeah,
nice to see you.
nice to see you too. To know how you've been.
Yeah,
How have you been?
it's it's a crazy ride. Yesterday I took the time and wrote down the experience from the big shift I had in the end of August.
Mhm.
And this week there were two another shifts.
Nice, many trips. It's time to
Yeah,
be 50.
yeah, this was so funny. In the at the beginning of the year, I was at the Vipassana, and
Mhm.
then I was telling to myself, at the end of the year, I want to finish this story. And now it's gonna like maybe the universe got my words a little bit too serious because sometimes it's felt like I'm on a highway. And
What story, by
yesterday,
the way? What story do you want to finish?
yeah, the enlightenment path, which is
Oh,
also an idea.
it usually doesn't finish for many years.
Yeah, it takes its
I
time.
wish I could say that for me, it's entirely finished.
Yeah, yeah. And yesterday there came a question into my mind. And the question is because sometimes I have shocking thoughts, I would say.
Mhm.
And sometimes there's an emotional reaction to it. And yesterday I was talking to a friend, and there was like a thought from I had like the beginning of my 20s, something unappropriated to say. And the thing was, the sword wanted to cling, but to give you a picture, it was like an airplane, and he goes over further and further on the horizon until the sword vanished. And the question I have is if I'm continuing the path, the spiritual path, is it that then thoughts like this vanish completely, or they just can come later, but there's no more clinging or attachment to it? And it's like the experience I told to you with the airplane.
What kind of thought?
Just thoughts about violence or something stupid I said in my early
What's the word?
20s. Violence.
Oh, violence. Oh, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Uh, so uh, it starts with a letter, and then it slowly becomes a former. Uh, but it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually completely normal to experience violent thoughts, whether towards oneself or towards another, after
Mm-hmm.
spiritual awakening. So the only reason the mind is violent is because the mind is hurt, the mind is traumatized. So the violent thoughts are reflection of the uh, remaining suffering of the ego, of the remaining trauma. It's actually quite evident if we're being kind of logical about it, because they come in situations that are completely inappropriate. So
Yes.
they come in situations like, for example, I had for like sometimes for some years after awakening, not all the time, but oftentimes when I would like take a kitchen knife in my hand, I would have some thought, about stabbing myself or something like this, right? I of course I immediately saw through it. It's not it didn't contract me even one bit. I would never
Mhm.
do anything like that. It was interesting to watch, but as I continued the journey, right, and as it was like the remaining fear or anger or other things, they started coming rarer and rarer and rarer and rarer. And now it still happens, but very, very, very rarely.
It's still
Very,
happening. Okay.
very rarely.
Hmm.
Extremely rarely. Like maybe
Yeah.
once every few months.
Hmm.
So so the because it's a reflection, when the suffering of the ego is completely transcended, or as Buddhists would say, when all the defilements are completely cleared, they don't come inappropriately. So it's inappropriate to the situation. You can say it's inappropriate to the
Yeah.
situation that you're currently in, but it's appropriate from the perspective of the unconscious that you're working at. You're working with. It's appropriate from the perspective of the remaining wounds and the whole process of unfolding. So if it's like in your case, if they recede along with the emotional experience, if they recede relatively quickly, uh, if you absolutely know that it's just a thought and you have no inclination to act on it whatsoever, then that's the situation that you described. So there's just no resistance to it, right? But it means that there is still some. I mean, they still come from some source. It's not like they're not there completely for no reason, right? And the reason is always the remaining suffering. So it's important not to resist them, and it's even more important not to resist any emotional experience that may come with them. It could be anger, resentment, sadness, what have you.
Yes.
So
No,
it will be
every
continued.
time.
Yeah, so it will be a continued process. You see, it's like, what's the point, right? So if you're not resisting it whatsoever, right? Imagine the situation where there is no emotional experience, where there is absolutely nothing. What's the point for the mind to even think about it? There is no point. So the mind stops.
Yeah. Yeah, makes totally sense. Yeah. And it's for me a relief to hear that you sometimes also have the thoughts,
Oh
but there's
yeah,
no material to grab on or
yeah,
cling or something. It's like, I would describe it like this: you're grabbing into air. You
yeah,
get nothing.
yeah,
Yeah. It's just like
yeah.
air,
They
a
all
wind.
coming from the past.
Yeah.
The mind has a lot of inertia.
Okay.
It usually takes at least 10 years for people, after the first shift, after the first recognition that the ego is a self-constructed reality,
Yeah.
to the situation where the ego stops controlling you, or is not even visible in consciousness. Usually much more, and many people don't even finish this process. It's already such an extraordinary relief not to be completely identified and completely controlled by the ego like a puppet.
Yeah.
you know
Right.
just the discovery of the will beyond the ego, which is why many people say there is no free will. It's a process of surrender, because the ego does not have any will at all. So,
Yeah.
even the discovery of this, that you don't have those thoughts, they don't control the experience. You don't have to listen to them. You don't have to oblige to them. They're just some narrative about the inner experience that is going on. Even this discovery is such a profound relief, and it improves the quality of life so profoundly, that many people don't are completely satisfied with it, and they live the whole life with these thoughts. They just don't give them the power they don't deserve. But strictly speaking, formally speaking, for as long as they come, there's still some unprocessed things, and it becomes subtler and subtler and subtler. I mean, initially it can be very intense, and then the further you go, the subtler it becomes.
Yeah, I was surprised by myself by yesterday experience, and this thought came up. And yeah, thank you for answering that.
Completely normal. Yeah, it is also completely
Yeah.
normal to have violent dreams, to have violent fantasy or violent imagery in meditation directed either towards yourself or another person.
Yeah.
So all of this is representation of remaining anger and fear in consciousness.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good not to speak the thoughts you have. Like right now, I got a silly thought. The thought was like, everything is okay if you don't have like violent actions.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
let them pass like clouds, and pay attention if your body reacts in any way. Try to find
Yes.
anything that changed in the body, and pay
Yeah,
direct attention, like become closer to that. The thoughts themselves, just let them be clouds in the sky.
yeah. Do we have time for another question?
Yes.
Okay, nice. Because on your website, I read something about true forgiveness.
Hmm.
And 2 days ago, I got in touch with it, with
Hmm.
the true forgiveness. Is it possible that you can go a little bit deeper in the topic, what
Hmm.
really true forgiveness is?
Oh, there are layers of it. I mean, I'll try to be brief because we have some other guests too. There's pretense forgiveness, right? So when we pretend that something didn't happen, or we pretend that we forgave the person, and we simply don't act on our impulses to avenge, you know. So this is usually very shallow levels, so very surface level, and uh, it breaks down very easily when there's any tension in the relationship. Uh, the deeper level of forgiveness, sorry, the deeper level of forgiveness is when you realize that the suffering associated with the mistreatment, not the mistreatment itself, the mistreatment has happened, but the suffering associated with the mistreatment was of your own making. So that is where true forgiveness begins. So the pretense forgiveness, the fake forgiveness, all often has this character of forgetting, while this is the opposite, actually, because in order to fully uncover the suffering that was associated with the mistreatment, you have to remember the mistreatment completely. So true forgiveness is actually also remembering and accepting. It's making complete peace with what happened. You see, so you no longer deny what happened, which is usually the characteristic of fake forgiveness.
Yeah.
You completely realize what happened, but also at the same time you realize that the suffering about what happened is of your own making, and you transcend the suffering about what happened. So what happened happened, but there is no more suffering about it in the present moment, because what happened was in the past. Then I also like to say that there's a deeper level of forgiveness where you realize that the only reason that they did it in the first place is because they were suffering themselves. And your resentment, your anger towards them, as you begin to transcend them, was actually also the result of your ignorance and your lack of compassion and your lack of understanding. So now it becomes the time to forgive yourself by being so cruel towards this person who mistreated you, even if it was only in your mind. And 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 you learn to love them, uh, even though they did this to you, because you understand them, because love and understanding is the same thing. So there are kind of depths and layers of forgiveness. And we could also say with a high degree of accuracy that the whole spiritual path is about forgiveness. It's about forgiving yourself. It's about forgiving others, letting go of the past, right?
Mm.
Everyone, if you're on the spiritual path, then your past is littered with unacknowledged mistreatment, whether from others towards you,
Yeah.
or if you're more on the narcissistic side, from you towards others. So it's littered. The past is littered with injustice, and so forgiving both yourself for harming others and forgiving others for harming you,
Yeah.
you can say that's the 90% of the spiritual path.
Mm.
And emotionally speaking, it of course there's fear. There's fear to see everything on the spiritual path, but emotionally speaking, the main two connections, the main two emotions that are connected towards it is anger and sadness. So you feel
Yeah.
and process anger towards others for mistreating you as sadness towards yourself for being mistreated. If you were on the offending side, then you will also experience anger and loathing towards yourself for having done what you have done,
Mm.
sadness for others, for
Yeah.
people that you have mistreated. That's why I sometimes say that guilt is a composite emotion. It's anger towards oneself and sadness towards others.
Yeah. I have experienced this 2 days ago. It was first rage. In my case, I was really angry. And after that rage, which was really intense, I
Tear-
got really deep grief,
Yeah,
like this really whole sadness.
yeah,
And then it feels like you told, I got a layer deeper. But really, what really interesting was like I tried to forgive, and there was like to be this honesty, and I said, oh, I couldn't
yes,
forgive right now. I can't force
that's right.
myself to forgive.
That's correct.
And
That's
I
very
came
important
into
for.
the part of acceptance. And after acceptance, the rage came, the grief came. I felt it completely, and then I could go a layer deeper.
Yes, yes. I'm very glad you brought it up. That's very important for the people to hear. Never try to force yourself to forgive.
Yeah.
You cannot force true, authentic forgiveness.
No.
You can only pretend that you have forgiven.
Yes.
And true forgiveness is only possible through experiencing the layer of anger and
Yeah.
grief. Only then, only then you sorry, you stop harboring ill will in your
Yeah.
heart. And anger and sadness, you see, they're both reactions to mistreatment. We just suppress our reactions, but that's why it becomes very difficult for us to forgive, because we suppress and we accumulate. That's why we
Yeah.
become resentful, right? But fundamentally, that's what they are. Anger is outwardly facing reaction to mistreatment. So you do something, reaction to aggression. You do
Yeah.
something bad to me, I want to do something back to you. And sadness is a soothing. It's an inner reaction to mistreatment and aggression.
Yeah.
And so those are two sides of the same coin. And that's why when you were the aggressor, it reverses. You become angry at yourself and sad for other people. You want to soothe them and say, I'm very sorry. And you anger at yourself for having done that, for not knowing.
Yeah.
So the it's extremely important to experience them. Only when they're fully acknowledged and absorbed, the true forgiveness can happen. So never pretend to forgive. Never pretend to forgive. It will happen. It
Yeah.
will happen by itself. Honor the feelings that you have. If you're angry at someone, rageful at someone, be angry. Be angry.
Yes.
Don't act on it though. Why?
Right.
Very simple. Because revenge is always stupid, right? So you will later have to pay for it. I mean, it's irrational. It doesn't make anything better, neither for you nor for them. And then you will also later have to realize it and be angry at yourself for acting stupidly.
Yeah,
So
that's
don't
right.
act on it, but on the level of consciousness, don't run away from it.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah.
That's why true forgiveness is rare, because it
Yes.
demands facing,
And
contending with, and fully experiencing your anger and
and it has
bitterness
a really,
towards others and
yeah.
grief. Yeah.
And I experienced it. It has a really deepness, real forgiveness,
Oh yes.
because if I remember right, in your post, you also have another layer, and it's like you have to forgive yourself for forgiving because there was nothing to forgive.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
And
Ultimately, you
when I
have to
did
forgive
that,
yourself for even thinking that there was something to forgive. Yeah.
yeah. And when I did that, the same things happened, like this aggression and then this big grief. And it was really deep then and peaceful. But it was like a big power. And I got in the sense with this true forgiveness, which is not imaginable how it feels or how the experience is.
Yeah.
It has a really powerful force
Yes.
and
Yes.
a much different quality.
I would even say it's the most powerful force in the universe, because that's what
Oh,
love is. Love is understanding. Love is forgiveness. True forgiveness and unconditional love is
yeah.
one and the same thing. It's the most transformative force in the universe.
Okay.
Well, thank you
Thank
for
you for,
sharing, my friend.
yeah, thank you for your service.
Of course, it's my pleasure. It's very good speaking to you, and I hope to
Yeah,
see
you too, Artem.
this summer. I hope that we'll have enough participants on the retreat in Europe this summer, and I really, yeah, and please, I haven't seen you on my forum for a while. Please share your new insights in the channel.
I
It
did
might
yesterday.
help other. Oh, you did. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I haven't. I missed that. I
That's
mean, it can
nice.
be useful for others. It can be inspiring for others. It's a
Yeah,
wonderful journey. I
it
think
is.
everything is unfolding wonderfully for you, and
Thank you.
there's going to be much more cool stuff. It's only going to get better. It's
It's
only going to get better for you.
yeah, it's a really crazy ride.
Even though at times it will feel like it's getting worse, but yeah,
Yes,
it is.
yes, I experienced that.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay. Thank
buddy.
you, Artem.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so now I will make a very small interlude, a very short interlude, and then I have Hunter and I have some questions. I have Dag and I have some questions in comments. So I have a couple of things that I would like to ask you guys. So first of all, if you like my work, if you like these videos, please like, comment, and share these videos. This will help me. This help us grow the audience. It help us to be findable to the people that need guidance. So I would appreciate that. You can follow me on my other channel, on my other social media channels like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads, and and you can also join our wonderful Discord community where lots of my students are sharing their insight, helping each other, supporting each other. Like, for example, if you need support, if you need to speak to somebody, then you can find people there. I'm not always available. So that's the link to the community. And I will also, yeah, I learned to do that recently. So you can also do that. Another thing that I would like to ask you guys is that if you can, please support my work. I have a bunch of people that are doing that, to whom I'm very, very deeply grateful, but we're still far away from me being able to pay my bills. We made some part of the way, but it's still not even 50%. So if you can, there's a link there. You can schedule a monthly donation via PayPal or support me on Patreon. And I will also post a QR code. So for those of you who are in the position, or if you feel called to make larger donations, then I also want to let you know that we are a registered nonprofit religious organization, and you can send us checks or do large donations another way, and our donations will be tax deductible for you. And then lastly, I would like to say to post a link to schedule one-on-one meetings with me. So this also helps, and it helps both me and you. And this is the link. So there are different. Hold on, let me also put the. Yep, Yep, that's the QR code. So there are different tiers depending on the level of income, and if you are financially struggling, there's also option to schedule free meetings and $25 meetings. So during these meetings, I can discuss. Answer your questions, and then everything in this meetings is confidential, of course. So I can also guide you in meditation, and we can do the form of inquiry, which I call radical inquiry. So usually people who try it are like it very much. So that's it. Yes. So that was it for the little interlude. If those of you who have heard it many times before, thank you for your patience. Now I will address a comment from White Red, and then I'll come back to the guests in the studio. So White Red says, you know, when the body doesn't go beyond the point in integration after meditation, I wonder if psychedelics bypass this, so the integration isn't optimal on the level of the body, meaning the integration isn't as optimal as could be with meditation only. Okay, I'm not sure I understand the question. The question completely. But basically, what psychedelics are is intense and forced meditation. So psychedelics intensify meditation in the same way that pouring kerosene would intensify a fire. So of course, if you use psychedelics, there will be more things to integrate. There will be deeper impact. It's also the same reason why they can be somewhat dangerous. So if you're not experienced with it, don't take high doses. So basically, the relationship between them is psychedelics and meditation is a relationship of time. There's literally, if we're speaking about the path to complete liberation, there's literally nothing that can happen on psychedelics that cannot also happen in very deep meditation. But it's just that if you take a moderate dose of psychedelics and meditate for 3 hours, the amount of subconscious material and the amount of experience, unfamiliar experience, repressed emotion, energy that also will arise in consciousness and be absorbed, will correspond to meditating for like 12, 16 hours, right? And people who do, for example, dark retreats for a week, they can be similarly disoriented and even have psychotic episodes, just like people who take very large dose of psychedelic unprepared. So it's not that there's some fundamental difference between the two, right? So of course, when you're talking about integration optimal or not optimal, you have to compare a much longer meditation session to meditating on psychedelics. So that's basically the relationship. So keep that in mind. All right. So we have Maxime and Hunter. So Hunter, we'll start with you. Hi, Hunter. Hunter? Did you want to talk, or are you just watching?
Hi.
Hi.
Uh,
Did you want to speak, or were you just watching?
I can't hear me.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, I guess I don't have a really good question at the moment. So
Yeah. No problem. All right. So those of you who are just watching, I think it's best to watch on YouTube, and use StreamYard if you have a question. Okay. So then we have Maxime. Hi, Maxime.
Hi, mate.
You're finally on time. So yes, you're usually like very late to the end of the meeting, and then you finally have some time. You tried like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I'm late.
Comment ça va?
Ça va. It's okay. Yeah. Just wanted to talk to you about intimacy because I'm having some relationship difficulties. So, as we say that, I don't know if you agree that men and women's brain are wired differently, maybe. but we have some, how can I say, I don't see the things the same way as my girlfriend, right? I don't know how it's with your wife, but we don't agree on certain things, which is okay, but it creates some kind of disturbance in the intimacy. You know what I mean? Some points, like for example, she wants me to take my flat, but for me it's like going backwards because we moved here together, so it's like going back to the past. So you know what I mean? Because we moved here together, so now she wants me to take my flat. So I'm like, but you asked me, you wanted me to move with you here, and now you change your mind. This makes no sense. It's not logical, right? So I said that for me it's not logical.
Okay. Let's
So she's more on the emotional
let-
side. That for her it's safer to have her own space, which is, I understand, but for me it's too much emotional. I don't understand why she makes this decision, because it's not a rational decision.
Okay.
So I try to rationalize it, and then I lose, because when I try to rationalize it, she gets more emotional, and I lose. So I don't know how to communicate.
Okay.
And maybe it has nothing to do with gender, by the way. I'm paraphrasing, because some women are more rational, some men are. But she's more on the emotional side and more on the rational side, on these things anyway.
Okay. Here's my response. So the brains of men and women actually are not wired differently. It's a myth. We are conditioned differently. There are some biological differences, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Right. So when it comes to sex, and because we're somewhat stronger and more prone to aggression than women, but compared to the amount of conditioning that men and women are subjected to, they're so puny. I mean, when you have no conditioning whatsoever, you can still observe them, and they are obvious. But when you are when you have a lot of conditioning, it's almost always, when you try to explain the differences between men and women with biological differences, you would be actually trying to explain conditioning, because the amount of conditioning is quite extreme.
Right.
And women and men are oftentimes conditioned. Usually, actually, men are generally conditioned to reject their emotion to a much greater degree than women, and use logic and what they call rationality, which is actually also deeply biased and based on their own emotional issues. But they are kind of conditioned to use logic as both a defense mechanism and a weapon, whereas women are generally more in touch with what they're feeling, because they are conditioned slightly less than men, in slightly less brutal way, and generally allowed a wider display of emotion when they're little, whereas men are oftentimes shamed mercilessly for showing signs of weakness or for crying. And so they oftentimes don't even know why they're feeling something, but they're feeling something, which men don't like to hear, because they want the rational argument.
That's for sure.
Both of those are conditioning, actually.
Of course.
And that's also just a tendency, right? Because you have women that kind of somebody would describe as masculine, and as it comes to their character, and then you have men that would be very much in touch with their emotions and would be described.
Of course.
So those are just tendencies. Now, coming back to your specific situations. So I'm almost sure that when you're asking her why, there is a big part of it that is accusatory, right? Because there is really nothing better than you could do to understand, to nurture intimacy with another human being, than asking why, but from the heart in a very curious and open-minded manner, in the meaning of, I simply want to understand it better. I'm not arguing with you. I just want to understand you. Everybody wants to be understood.
Right, right.
But what most people do is that when they asking why, there's like this flavor of, I disagree with you. You're wrong. Explain yourself. I'm going to I want to know your reasons to destroy them. And then, of course, she's gonna get emotional. Of
Right,
course,
right.
she's gonna get defensive.
Yeah.
When you try to build intimacy with another person, the degree to which it is difficult is also the degree to which you are not sufficiently intimate or honest with yourself, right?
Mm.
So the degree to which you don't see yourself, how you use it, instead of understanding another person to dominate them, or again, instead of understanding another person to just count it as some differences that you cannot explain, but still being discontent with them, for example.
Mm.
Those are all the things that prevents building deeper intimacy.
Mm.
There's hold on, I wanted to say something. Hold on. Oh, right. So in order to move into the direction of intimacy,
Mm.
first understand,
Right. So I
and
listen.
then argue.
Right.
If you will have an argument afterwards, oftentimes you will not have it.
I have.
Right. So kind of, you see, we have many things that are shamed for traditionally, you see. So
Right.
sometimes a person cannot even say, I changed my mind, without further interrogation or without being shamed for it, you see.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So the most important thing that you can do is create an atmosphere of unconditional understanding first.
Right.
And then if there's and ideally she would also try to understand you, and
Right.
then you can make a joint decision for both
Right.
of you, with understanding, with knowledge, instead of both of you trying to persuade each other.
Yeah. It's like
and
a
tell
ego
each other
war.
that
It's
the
like an
other
egoic
is
war
wrong.
where but she has a lot of ego too. It's not only me. Trust me that she wants to win every argument.
Yours is your only concern, right? Even you see,
So I said because
even if she tries to win every argument, right? It could mean a lot of things, right? For example, it could mean that you're wrong in every argument. I mean, I doubt that, of
no,
course,
most likely
but
not.
that's a possibility.
It's most likely in the middle, right?
Hold on. But there's another thing that it means,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If she tries to win every argument, it means that is that kind of is that she's very protective of herself and
Yeah.
of her being right. It means that she's been hurt before many times.
Right. For sure. For sure.
You see?
That's for sure.
So let her win the argument. Don't take it as an argument, right? But aim to understand. Always aim to understand, not change somebody's mind,
Right.
not make them agree with you, but understand. That's the hardest thing to do,
Yeah.
because it also makes you understand yourself, and that's another big part that I wanted to mention, because as you argue, as you try to understand her, you will invariably have emotional reactions inside of you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So pay close attention to them, accept them, and the easier it is for you to deal with them, the easier it will be for you to really understand where she's coming from. And you're going to, you see, because I'll tell you one thing. However you think irrational she is, however you think wrong she is, if you lived in her shoes,
Yeah.
if you lived her life, you would behave absolutely the same way, and it would be rational for you.
Right. Yeah.
So because for her it is rational. You see?
Yes.
So first understand a person, and only then try to change them. So your ego is the only concern. Her ego is not your concern. The degree to which her ego bothers you
is mine, right?
Right. Of course.
Right.
Because only ego is bothered by ego.
Right. Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, relationships
It's
are.
not. Sorry. It is. Yes. I
It's
mean,
very
the
difficult.
relationship, especially the personal relationship, are like the biggest test of enlightenment, the biggest battleground of the ego. So yes, it's like, yeah, there's
I don't know how it was for you, but and we live in a small place.
wasn't
I mean,
easy.
it has like 30 meters square, so it's also very small. So my first reaction was to say, well, before taking an extreme decision like move out or let's break up, because 2 months before she said I want to marry you, so this makes no sense. It makes no sense. Now, anyway, so I won't come back on that. But I told her that the middle way for me is to find a place that suits both of us. She said, no, first take your flat and then we'll see. But for me, it made no sense because I moved from my own flat to move with her here. That was mainly her decision, not mine. And now she wants out. I was like, anyway, you know that from my logical mind, it made no sense.
I think there's a little bit more than logic is involved in that.
Yeah, for sure. Because we argued a lot around that and we got angry.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe
Nothing.
there's some anger, maybe there's some resentment, maybe there's some feeling of betrayal, or you expect her to always keep her promises or kind of act in the way that makes sense to you, right? So when you say it makes no sense, right, it makes no sense to you, but it does make some sense to her.
I'm also someone, I'm a bit like, I mean, I don't know if you're like this, but most likely you are. I'm always very, not extreme, but 100% in my decision. And when I take a decision, I'm full on this decision.
And
some
that's
people,
and
some
that's
people
actually
are more
that's
in the
actually
middle.
the rigidity that is also coming from some insecurity.
Right, but I agree. But at the same time, it helps me tremendously in my life, so much on so many things.
Okay, well, it's one of
Maybe not this part.
helps you, but I mean, she is probably different. Well,
Right.
Anyway, I think we have covered it. I have some other people
Of
to
course.
speak to. It was great. It was great seeing you, my friend. It was great talking to you.
Thank you, and I will integrate.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So we have Dag. Dag, I'll see if I have the time for you. I'd like to address a couple of questions first. Lax Super is asking, could you talk about choice from the point of view of desire and ego? Generally, I see that action is a result of the strongest desire. Is that then really a choice? How does attention affect quality of choice? Good question. So from the ultimate perspective, everything is a choice. Everything you do is a choice. You choose to follow the desires, actually. And you choose to follow the desires because if you don't follow the desire, there's pain. Most of the desires, the egoic desires, are there as an illusion that if you satisfy them, you will become happy. So they're a way to escape the investigation. They're a way to escape the examination of suffering. They kind of like addictions. So when you stop any addiction, you experience withdrawal, right? And so when you stop chasing external desires, you will start sinking into yourself and you will experience difficult things. Is that a choice? Ultimately, yes. But there's also another perspective. I mean, from the ego's perspective, nothing is a choice, right? So that is why, it helps some people to accept that they don't have as much control over themselves when they're addicted, right? That's one of the first things that they do in AA, for example. So it can be a beneficial perspective to make to take for the mind that is so harsh and self-abusive. Then when it even hears it was a choice, it hears, oh, you could have done something, right? So you could have not folded desire, you could have dropped the ego, but you didn't. So now this is your fault, and it turns to inner self-abuse, it turns to inner harshness, right? So practically speaking, you can no longer blame the ego for going after its desires. Then you can blame an alcoholic for going after another drink. So in some situations, actually adopting the view that it's not a choice is a more compassionate, kind view. That's why we practice. I mean, this is what meditation does. You cannot pursue your desires in meditation, right? So you meditate for long enough, you learn to be alone with yourself. You learn to be content at that moment. You see, you learn to not believe the stories that if only I got that, I would be happier. You learn to be happy right now. So it's a practice, right? So whether the stance that everything is a choice or nothing is a choice, and I have ultimate free will or I have no free will feels truer to you depends on where you are exactly in the spiritual journey. So you can take any one of them which feels truer and kinder to you right now. So then for your question about how does attention affect the quality of choice, so giving the most important kind of property of attention is that giving attention, giving awareness to our wounds and hurts ultimately heals them. So everything that we don't want to give attention to is perpetuated. Unexamined suffering is perpetuated, you see. So it's a miraculous, wonderful quality of attention that if we're speaking about our emotional or spiritual pain, emotional or spiritual discontent, then giving attention to it is what ultimately heals it. It slowly waters down the resistance to experience, and it slowly makes the experience more and more tolerable and ultimately even pleasurable. So the more you give attention to the things that you did not give attention before, the more you give attention to the things that it feels unpleasant to give attention to in your inner experience, the less the avoidance of the experience affects your decisions and affects your choice. So the more right choices, the more beneficial choices you can make. So it's the same with this example that I did before. Why is the choice to not drink, if you're an alcoholic, why is the choice to not drink is so difficult? It's because you anticipate the pain that will come when you abstain, sorry. And so giving attention to this pain, giving attention to your emotional wounds, giving attention to anything that arises in your consciousness changes the quality of choice in this way. It allows you to make choices that are good for you and good for others, to do the right thing, but were perceived as to be too painful, you see. So it arises the quality of choice it affects the quality of choice in a very direct way. Okay, so Home asked the question, how can I learn to set constraints for myself if it doesn't feel natural at all? Because I'm used to limitless freedom at mind level. It seems that my dominating mode is always to reflect on things. I'm not sure exactly what you mean about setting constraints for yourself. So what kind of constraints? So it looks like what you're saying is I'm used to not judging anything that happens in my mind, but in my life, uh, I know that that it would be better if I set some constraints for myself, because some of the things that I do are not in my best interest, and I already acknowledge that. But it's still hard not to do them. It seems like that's what you're saying, right? So then I would say, well, do them, and then if you have limitless freedom in your mind, watch how your mind reacts, and watch its tantrums, and watch your discontent, and watch how emotions come. Watch the argument, basically, of the mind. So you have another question. Why I feel strongly when someone doesn't pay attention when I process my emotions, but instead tries to help as if needed intellectual problem solving. That's a good question. So you feel so strongly because there's some uh, so there's some belief in the psyche, which we all have in the separated state, that some emotions are wrong to have. And so when another person tries to help, like even when you're crying, another person goes there, you can interpret it as stop crying sooner, or like calm yourself down, or like you can interpret any attempt to help, even intellectually, as a message that there's something wrong with you right now. You shouldn't be feeling it. You have no reason to feel it, right? And this message hurts because it kind of is connected to this belief that there are some things that are appropriate to feel and some things that are inappropriate to feel, some things that are appropriate to express and some things that are not. So that's why it hurts. Also, you say, and how do I manage momentum of creating unnecessary stress in my body by habit of working and thinking? Or does this pattern just follow physical laws and not only decline when injured? No, it actually, it's much more connected to the belief in the psyche that, to the egoic belief that love is something to be earned. So productivity, so you need to be kind of productive, you need to continuously work, you need to continuously deliver. It does not mean that enlightened mind never engages in a productive activity or cannot do any creative activity or cannot think. But what it does mean is that when this is uncovered, when this is seen through it, transcended, then you rest easily, right? So just like they say in Buddhism, restlessness, right? But for the mind that still believes in it, even resting is difficult. So you want to rest, but the mind is still engaged in something that you feel that you need to do. So the kind of the cure for that is, as usual, more practice, more meditation, more uncovering of false beliefs. So White Red says, "When will you grow Ellen Watt's beard?" Even like this one. I don't know. I mean, probably never. But we'll see. I mean, maybe in 10 years I'll be experimenting with. I don't know. I don't think that I would like the Alan Watts style beard, but I certainly don't have enough to like grow a real man's beard. So I mean, for now, that's what it is. Becoming gray. uh, okay, so yeah, that's it. So I only have Dag. So Dag, we have about 10 minutes, and then I'll have to finish it. Hey, buddy.
Hey, I have a question around the topic of manifestation. It's something that I've heard thrown around in spirituality, I think, almost ever since I started coming across spirituality at all. And I can't wrap my mind around it in a way that it seems that I have a big part of me saying it's pretty much bullshit, but there's also many voices saying there is at least some truth to it. And it's easy for me to just dismiss it, but there's also something in me saying that there might be some truth to it, but I don't know if there is. I have no idea how it's supposed to work. And for me, it has always it seems to be intimately tied with also this feeling of, okay, either I have no power and I'm more or less just like a play ball of whatever forces that are beyond my control, or I can make anything happen, so to say. And can you speak on the topic of manifestation a bit?
Yeah.
I have no idea what's supposed to be true about it, if there is anything true about it at all.
There is some truth to it, but okay, I'll speak briefly. I mean, manifestation generally is a big topic, and I can speak in detail about it. I'll try to be brief. So, generally speaking, the ideas of manifestation is the product of a mind that is somewhat confused about what the spiritual journey is really about. So the spiritual journey is about accepting reality for what it is fully. The confusion in people who practice manifestation is that they think that it's about changing reality. The interesting thing is that those two are somewhat related, because when you accept reality for what it is, it does change perceptionally for you.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give an example. So I oftentimes give this example. Like, imagine that this is reality and this is your perception. Enlightenment is when they merge together into one, right? But here's the thing: reality is not going anywhere. It was always the same. It's only your perception departed from it. So reality stands still, and you are approaching reality. That's what actually happened. But you're riding this ball. So from your perspective, you're actually standing still, and reality approaches you. It like goes closer and closer and closer.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people experience synchronicities, manifestation. That's what gets interpreted as an I'm in complete control of everything, and I can actually manifest. And if I don't have such things, it's because I'm doing something wrong, right? So then it comes to those idea of, just allow and everything will happen for you. Generally speaking, it's somewhat delusional, and that's why it actually doesn't work. Like, if you are going to sit for hours and hours and days in meditation, manifesting, imagining, visualizing, winning a lottery, or like having a lot of money, nobody will come and give you a lot of money. So that's why I often say manifestation requires action. So if you want to manifest something, you actually need to act in a certain direction. Another element of truth that is associated with manifestation, and this works is in a more direct way, is when you're manifesting similar situations that are bad, right? So it's the same as karma, right? So when you're repeating the same unconscious pattern that is coming from the pain, and find yourself in a repeating situations again and again, you can say you're manifesting them. So when the time comes to make a choice, you make a familiar choice, right? So you don't leave, let's say, yet another bad relationship, or you once again don't pursue what you want to out of fear. And then you could say you manifest your destiny in this way. But when it comes to kind of very desirable manifestations, such as, all you need to do is like only open yourself up to the universe and you will become rich and famous, then it's complete bullshit. So it's much more important to focus on our dysfunctional unconscious patterns, on our pain, in how we're manifesting the karma, rather than focusing on manifesting some desirable circumstances, about which the truth of that is actually that you only want those desirable circumstances in the first place because you're under the illusion that they're going to make you happy. Right? So as you practice more and more, you will start seeing it in your self-experience and how you're recreating the bad circumstances by not tending to pain, instead acting on it.
Yeah. what you said, that is the only thing that so far struck me as true about it manifesting so far, that it seems to require action. And it seemed to me that the only thing that, or what was the crucial point so far, was that it depends largely on how in a way fluidly you can act, because you're not hindered by
Yes.
internal stuff.
Yes.
And that's why it can seem as if this or that is happening effortlessly, and you're like giving energy into it, but it's not feeling like an uphill battle, for example, and just seems like it's naturally happening.
Yes. So I could say that, it's mostly it's mostly about taking an opportunity, or not being afraid of taking an opportunity, going towards an opportunity,
Yeah.
which then basically about meditating and creating opportunities in your life out of nowhere. That's not gonna, like, you're not going to it's, some people have this kind of very strange ideas of what enlightenment is like, right? So you can, like, you'll be like meditating in your house and never leaving it, and suddenly people will start knocking on the door and like say, this is where a teacher lives? I mean, this is nonsense. So manifestation requires action.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
I'm still somewhat confused, but
It'll
kind of
get
confirmed it.
clear. It will get clear. Like, my advice to you is, you are focusing on this topic because you're discontent with something in your life, because you think that this is the way out.
Yes,
That's
that
a misdirection already, right? So first of all, you need to thoroughly accept and process the emotions of discontent. And then secondly, if you want to be honest and you want to be real, that you have to ask yourself, how are you sabotaging yourself in not getting what you want? So instead of kind of asking universe for what you want, oh, please manifest this for me, I mean, the universe has probably given you plenty of opportunities, right? You can ask yourself, how do I sabotage it? How do I reject? How do I act in ways that don't allow me to take this opportunity? So this is a much more honest and a much more productive thing. Is that, like, what techniques do I use to get what I want? So from this perspective, manifestation is total bullshit, and you're just going to be circling in one place if you go there.
So my suspicion was somewhat correct.
Yeah. Sure.
All right.
Thanks. You're welcome. All right, so we have Maxime is asking, is there free will after complete enlightenment? Yes, there's. I mean, there's a great saying. I don't remember what teacher said it, but I completely agree with it. Human beings have infinite free will with regards to what they do, and zero free will with regards to what you experience. And the ego does not have any free will at all, right? So the ego is just a narrator in your head, and lots of beliefs that are trying to protect you from feeling certain things, and then trying to control what you will experience. That's why, from the ego perspective, it feels like there is no free will at all. And that's why also you have zero free will with regards to what you will experience, but you have infinite free will with regards to what they do. So in the dream state, you because you identify with the ego, you can say that you have no free will with regards to what they do. Also, I mean, that's why it's dreaming. You don't understand what's going on. Okay, and then some last comment. Hum says the question about constraint was maybe directed more to the engineer you than the spiritual you. Yeah, I did not quite understand what you mean by constraint. Like in practical life, how can someone whose primary mode is heavily on reflection can even comprehend concepts of constraints? Again, I'm not sure what you mean. Even from the engineering perspective, it's hard for me to put two and two together. And then White Red says, "You're rubbing your chin, so I think the Ellen was beer is coming sooner than 10 years." Oh, did he used to do that too, like this? Okay, well, maybe. Okay. You rascal. All right. Okay. So that's it. That's it for today. Thank you very much. It was a joy for me to see you. Please contact me, schedule one-on-ones, support my work, share my content, come to the Discord server, visit me at my home if you're in California, sign up for future retreats. Please keep meditating, keep going deeper and deeper into yourselves. Trust that everything happens exactly as it should. Enlightenment is unavoidable for everybody. So, and trust that there's a tremendous amount of joy, beauty, and relaxation in front of you. So whatever struggle you're going through, it's not forever. Nothing lasts forever. Persevere, practice, let go deeper and deeper into the beautiful love and ecstasy which life is. I love you all very much. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye. Bye, guys.